Kentucky's head coaching search has narrowed just a little bit, but there are three guys out there that I believe the Wildcats should be desperately pursuing.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe. On today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we're going to keep it going here. The coaching search for Kentucky basketball, it is still moving. The search has narrowed just a little bit. Going to provide an update on that today, as well as talk to you about the biggest candidates out there that I think Kentucky needs to throw as much money at as they possibly can. Thank you so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the show. And if you are listening on podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribed there as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Kentucky's head coaching search has narrowed just a little bit. Alabama head coach Nate Oats put out a statement yesterday saying that he is not leaving Alabama. The long and short of it there in the paragraph that he posted to Twitter, and according to Matt Norlander, who is a CBS Sports college basketball insider, there actually was some potential smoke there. Apparently, Oats might have been interested in Kentucky's head coaching position. However, Alabama's boosters and the university as a whole kind of talked him off the ledge there from making a move. So, Nate Oats, no contract extension, no nothing. They just convinced him to return to the Crimson Tide, and he publicly turned down any sort of opportunity to move elsewhere. So Nate Oats is officially out here for Kentucky basketball's coaching search. So that leaves us with a solid list of coaches that Kentucky could take a look at. And I believe that there are three, really honestly two coaches that I think Kentucky needs to desperately pursue here as the coaching search starts to officially get underway, now that Coach Cal has put out a statement saying that he is going to step away from the program. We're going to talk about that later in the show, by the way. But here are the candidates. Here are the candidates that Kentucky needs to desperately pursue. And I understand this first guy I'm going to talk about. I talked about him yesterday. He just won a national championship. There's not a great reason for him to leave his current program, considering he's won back-to-back national championships. He's in a good spot. He's winning. He's in a place in the country that he feels comfortable. The only reason Dan Hurley would leave UConn would be to go to Kentucky for more money and what I would argue are better resources. I think a lot of people would agree that Kentucky pours more money into their facilities than, or not facilities, just their program, their basketball program, than UConn can. And that's because Kentucky, this is their lifeblood. The heart and soul of the University of Kentucky is their basketball and football program. Full stop. I think Hurley would have a lot of success at Kentucky. He would. I think he would. But is he willing to give up the machine that he has built at UConn, or at the very least, move it down to Lexington out of, I believe, Storrs, Connecticut? Dan Hurley, you look at his resume. Started his career off at Wagner, 38-23 in 2 seasons there. Then he was hired for the head coaching position for the Rhode Island Rams. Was there from 2012 to 2018. Was 113-82, 57.9% winning percentage. Made the round of 32 in back-to-back seasons there to close out his tenure with the Rams. And then he started his year his career at UConn from 2018 to, obviously, still there, 2023-24. 141-58, almost a 71% winning percentage, 63% winning percentage in conference play. And this is the mark of a very good coach, his ability to slowly build this program up. I'm going to walk through here the timeline here. 2018-19, he went 16-17, 6-12 in the AAC. 2019-20, he went 19-12, 10-8. Next season, 15-8, 11-6. Following season, 23-10, 13-6. And he made the round of 64 in both of those seasons, by the way, 2020 through 21 and 2021 through 22. And then these past 2 years, he went from 23-10 to 31-8, and then 37-3 this year, 18-2 in Big East play. Back-to-back national championships. He's on fire. The program is on fire. I think it should also be noted that the majority of UConn's roster is probably going to be gone next season, whether that be through graduation or whether that be through the transfer portal or whether it be through the NBA draft. UConn is going to take a couple of hits. Tristan Newton, senior wing, he's going to be gone. Or senior guard, I should say. He's going to be gone. Cam Spencer is going to be gone. Hassan Diarra is also going to depart. It's going to be interesting to see what Stephon Castle does, whether or not he does declare for the NBA draft. I think there's a very good chance that he does. Donovan Clingan, there's a chance that he could very well declare for the NBA draft. We'll see what happens there. You look at different players coming off the bench. Samson Johnson, Solomon Ball, Jalen Stewart. What are they going to do this offseason? Are they going to enter the transfer portal? Are they going to run it back here at UConn? We'll just have to wait and see. But Dan Hurley, excellent coach, as we know, proven winner. Does Kentucky have a shot with him? I think it's a very small shot. Obviously, we saw the comments that he had after the national championship game yesterday, said that that's essentially said it's not on his mind right now, and essentially no. He did not directly say, no, I am not taking the University of Kentucky job. He said that you should talk to my wife about that initially. And then when asked specifically about Kentucky, he further doubled down and said, no. Does that matter? Does it matter that he said no before Kentucky can officially reach out to him and talk to him about contracts or talk to him about even just coming here, period? I don't necessarily know if it does. We have seen time and time and time again in college athletics, coaches that say, like, adamantly, I am not taking this job. I think a perfect example of this is Nick Saban. He said, I am not taking the University of Alabama Crimson Tide job. Said that, just straight up, full stop. He was not going to do it. He wasn't leaving the Dolphins. I'm pretty sure that's where he was. And then sure enough, a few days later, Nick Saban is the head coach of the Crimson Tide. Dan Hurley could come out and say no again, and it still wouldn't really, really matter until Kentucky's been able to actually have a conversation with him. So until that happens and he says no, I think Hurley's still in the running. But there's a very, very small chance that he ends up getting the job. Very small chance. And if he does get the job, woo, boy, we are going to have a very fun offseason. The other coach that I really do think that Kentucky should take a look at. There's three technically here, but if we're going to go, I think that two of them are more important than the third. Billy Donovan is probably not going to take the Kentucky job for a variety of reasons. He's been out of the college game for quite some time. He's happy in the NBA, I can imagine. He currently right now is with the Chicago Bulls, who, if I'm not mistaken, are right there in the thick of the play-in game. If they make the play-in game and they win the play-in game, which I believe that play-in game is on the 17th, then Donovan would be in the playoffs, and then you wouldn't be able to actually pull him away from that team for weeks. So it's just it's really bad timing for a coach that I think Kentucky could do very well with. You look at his time in the NBA, spent 5 years at Oklahoma City, finished first, second, fourth, and second in the Northwest Division, lost in the conference finals in his first year, then lost in the first round 4 straight years. Then at Chicago, he's missed the playoffs 3 of his 4 years there, lost in the first round in his second season after a 46-36 record. his only record above 500 with the Bulls up until this season. Chicago Bulls right now, I don't have it pulled up in front of me where their record is right now, but if they're close to the play-in game, they're close to 500 again. Maybe like just barely underneath 500. But during his time at Florida, that's kind of what we want to talk about here with Billy Donovan. He spent a lot of time at Florida, 1996 to 2015. And just brace yourself. 13-17, 14-5, 22-9. Made a Sweet 16 in that third year before finishing runner-up the 1999-2000 season, 29-8. Then he went second round, first round, second round, first round for the next 4 years. Second round, fifth year, 24-8. And if I'm not mistaken, he won the SEC tournament. Then back-to-back national championships, 33-6, 35-5. And then Florida was mediocre for a few years. NIT, first round. Then they made 3 straight Elite Eights and then a Final Four in 4 seasons from 2010 to 2014. And then a 2014-15 season, 16-17, 8-10 in SEC play. And then Donovan decided to hang it up. Decided that he was going to move on elsewhere. He's a good coach, proven winner. Now it's been a hot minute since he's been in the college game. How would he be able to acclimate himself to today's environment? It's going to be a drastic shift from what he understands, or what he understood rather, about the college game. I think he's a good coach, X's and O's wise. I think he's solid. I think he would be able to recruit. It's Kentucky. It's Billy Donovan. I think he would be able to get it done. But again, the timing of this is just so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate for Kentucky that the two coaches that could do a really, really, really good job are either just won a national championship, just got a contract extension before this happened, or are coaching in the NBA for a potential playoff team. So we'll see what happens. I want to briefly talk about the third candidate and then talk about Coach Cal here in just a second. Before I do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. It is playoff time in the NBA and the NHL. Baseball is also in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Because right now, new customers get $150 and bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. That is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Look, if you've got any opinions about this head coaching search, about what's going on with Kentucky as a whole, you can leave all of that in the YouTube comments below. At Locked On UK on socials is where you can find me. At Locked On UK on Twitter. I should say here. So we talked about the two candidates that I think Kentucky basketball would have the most success with after the coaching search narrows just a bit, with Nate Oats taking himself out of the running. Billy Donovan, Dan Hurley. Unfortunate that those two are probably not going to end up donning the blue and white, but I think that they would both be very good candidates nonetheless. By the way, I'm not predicting either of them to get the job. I want to be very clear here. I would just like it to happen, and a man can dream, right? A man can dream. This third candidate, though, I think is a very realistic shot of getting the job here, and that's Scott Drew. Scott Drew's the third person that I would call. A lot of you don't like that. A lot of you look at Scott Drew's current resume and say, oh, he's essentially been Coach Cal over the last 3 seasons, 3 straight years in the round of 32. I'm not interested in that. At least that's what you guys have said. You're like, I'm not interested in getting Scott Drew here, a national championship winning coach, because he has not seen the second weekend in 3 straight years. Boys, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Cal hasn't done that in 5. And also, Scott Drew won a national title in 2021. Scott Drew won a national title in 2000. I don't know why I just completely blanked on his name there. Kentucky hasn't won a title since 2012. And to be honest with you, you look at Scott Drew and his KenPom ratings, which I'm doing right now, the man knows how to coach both sides of the ball. He knows how to coach defense. He really knows how to coach offense over these past 4 years. Top 10 offensives in adjusted offensive efficiency for 4 straight years. They play a more methodical style of ball. They don't play with a ton of tempo. Scott Drew, by the way, been at Baylor since 2004. Just an abysmal program, the Baylor Bears. 8-21 in his first season, 4-13 a couple years later. And then he saw the round of 64 in 2008. Then he saw an Elite 8 in 2010, an Elite 8 in 2012, a Sweet 16 in 2014, 2 visits in the first round from 15 to 16, a Sweet 16 in 17, round of 32 in 2019. He finished number 1 in the AP poll before 2020. That season was cut short due to COVID. They won a national championship in 2021. The man has really solid resources as far as X's and O's and ability to coach, ability to recruit. He is proven a winner. He's got a 71% win percentage, since 2009 to 2010, Scott Drew's record, 15 years during Kentucky's time at Cal's time at UK, 365 and 149. That's a 71% winning percentage. He is 163 and 99 in Big 12 play. That's 62.2%. He's won 1 national title, 3 Elite 8s. He's missed 3 tournaments, 20 and 10 NCAA tournament record. One of his 3 best teams, like I just said, was in that COVID year where he did not get a chance to make a run. So Baylor, pretty dang good underneath Scott Drew. I think that he would be my third choice here because it goes back to kind of what this fan base wants. I don't understand why a lot of people that I've talked to in this fan base say we need to get a coach that's won a national championship. They look at guys like Dan Hurley, he'd be good. They look at guys like Billy Donovan, he'd be good. They look at guys like Scott Drew and go, no. Round of 32, 3 straight years, can't do that. Can't do that. Even though Billy Donovan's not coached in college for what's getting close to 7-8 years now, closer to a decade. Excuse me. Scott Drew's won a title in the last 4 seasons. Why wouldn't he be great? I think he'd be good. A lot of you seem to disagree with that. I think that Scott Drew would be a good coach. I think he would be a better coach than a lot of people on this list that we've looked at. Would you rather have him or Mark Pope? If any of you answered that seriously in the comments below and said you'd rather have Mark Pope, please explain to me why. Tell me why. Would you rather have him or TJ Altenberger from Iowa State? Would you rather have Scott Drew, who has won a national championship at Baylor recently, or would you rather have somebody like Tommy Lloyd, who's been coaching in Arizona for 3 seasons and has essentially done nothing with what has been a collection of very good rosters? Would you rather have him, national title winning head coach Scott Drew, or would you rather have Shaka Smart? In case you're wondering, Shaka Smart has not gotten past the Sweet 16 since 2011. He had a pretty good team this year with Marquette, made it to the Sweet 16. I don't know. I don't know. I think Scott Drew stacks up better against some of these other realistic candidates. I think he stacks up better than most of them. And we can't get Nate Oats now. You can't get Nate Oats now. It's not going to happen. So I think Scott Drew would be my third choice. And some of you on Twitter are saying, I can't believe we're going to have to talk ourselves into this. I talked myself into this over a year ago as Scott Drew is a potential guy. I've been okay with this for a year plus. So please explain to me in the comments below what's wrong with Scott Drew relative to the field. If Dan Hurley and Billy Donovan are not on the table, who do you want besides Scott Drew? Jay Wright said no, by the way. Let's go ahead and get that out of the picture. Jay Wright, barring a miracle, is not coming to Kentucky. So deal with that field. You've got Scott Drew, Bruce Pearl, I guess. I guess you take a look at Bruce Pearl here. You've also got guys like, I guess, TJ Otzelberger would be in the running. Sean Miller apparently is somebody that Kentucky's going to reach out to, according to KSR. Who would you rather have? I'm genuinely curious. This is not me trying to argue. I'm genuinely curious what the fan base is thinking about this, because to me and to people that I'm talking to, Drew makes sense. Drew definitely does make sense. Okay, final thing I want to discuss here. Coach Cal put out a thing on Twitter saying that he is officially out at Kentucky. And I wanted to play the audio for you here because I think it's really interesting, just the way that Cal has presented himself to wrap up his tenure. So here is that audio. It's about a minute and a half that I cut down. Coach Cal put this on Twitter, and this is his goodbye to Big Blue Nation after just a chaotic 72 hours.
Since our season ended, Ellen and I have spent a lot of time thinking about our time here at Kentucky, what it means to us, the friends we've made on that court, regional championships, conference championships, Final Fours, the national title in 2012. It's been a beautiful time for us. This is a dream job. It was my dream job. Anybody in our profession looks at the University of Kentucky in basketball and said, that is the bluest of blue. The last few weeks, we've come to realize that this program probably needs to hear another voice, that the university as a whole has to have another voice giving guidance about this program that they hear. And the fans need to hear another voice. We've loved it here, but we think it's time for us to step away. There have been opportunities that have been presented to us, and we're discussing them as a family. I love coaching. I love coaching young people. I love this year's team. I loved every day walking in. They've invigorated me. I love the chase for championships. I love bringing the kids together. It's what I do. It's who I am. Those memories and what we're able to do together is what this is all about. Again, it's been a dream, what we've been able to do. But 15 years, time for another voice. And you know I'm always going to be a fan. Thank you.
Athletic Director Mitch Barnhart put out on Twitter following that announcement from Coach Cal. He said, quote, "We're appreciative of John Calipari leading our program for the last 15 years, adding to the legacy of championship success at Kentucky. We're grateful to John for his many contributions to the university and our state, both on and off the court. We are working diligently to hire a proven, highly dedicated coach who embraces the importance of this program to our fans and the state of Kentucky." So Coach Cal officially stepping away from the program. He also talked, and I cut some of this out, he talked about opportunities that he may have with other universities, as we all know at this point, Arkansas, but said that he was very appreciative. He went down the list of the fans, the staff, the players and their families, all that great stuff. But Cal is officially out at the University of Kentucky. Great decade-long run. And I think KSR said something about this that I heard that I completely agree with, and I think all of you would too. Coach Cal made Kentucky cool. He made this program cool. It started with John Wall, and it ended in that 2019 season after some really important staff departures and COVID hit. Just changed a lot of different things for UK. He made this program cool. He made this program electric, desirable, entertaining. And it was some of those things before that, but he really did take it up a few notches when he stepped on campus 15 years ago. For him to be gone is kind of a shock that it's officially over. But now that it is, Kentucky's got to go out and do what Mitch Barnhart said. Get a proven, hungry, winning coach. And we don't know where that guy's going to come from yet. But I like the three guys I talked about today. Hurley, Donovan, Drew. Tell me who you would want in the comments below. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.